What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, where we talk about healing, self-care, love, sex, relationships, and what it takes to be amazing on the daily. Who I am is Candice Harper, lovecoach.com, honey. And my purpose with this podcast is to create healthy romantic relationships all around the world through self-love, soul connections, and sweetness. But before we get to that, we are now partnered with Solivity Magazine and part of Solivity TV, which is very, very exciting. From now on, we will be live every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Hopefully you will join us, ask us questions, talk to us, join in the conversation. And don't forget to subscribe to our audio broadcast, Ask for Candy, on Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you normally download podcasts. Now, you can also email us, and this is for the shy people, because we do like it when you ask questions. We like it when you interact live on social media. We like it when you're in it with us, right? But we know that some people are shy and introverted. So if you have a question or you want to make a comment or something I'm saying is like making you like, I don't know about that, you can email us at askforcandypodcast@gmail.com, and you can leave comments, ask questions, and I will answer those questions, and I will probably use your, if you have a juicy topic, I'll use it for a future show. So please, by all means, email us, check us out. So for almost 9 years, I have been a relationship coach, a workshop facilitator, and now I am a professional matchmaker with Talkify Dating Service. And if you've never heard of it, it's an amazing digital service where you can hire a matchmaker to do all the sifting and the vetting on your behalf. And for those of you who are out there sifting and vetting, let me tell you, it makes all the difference in the world when you have the support of somebody else to help you through all that initial stuff, especially for everybody who's online dating. And I hear a lot that people hate the online dating, and I can understand why, because you're going in cold. You basically don't know if they've told the truth on their profile. You get to maybe 2 or 3 conversations and find out something that's a deal breaker because you don't know certain things going in, which is understandable because how could you know them? But when you have a matchmaker, like me as a matchmaker, I match core values, lifestyle, and physical sexual attraction, which I know that part is a little subjective. But at the very least, by the time you meet that person, you know that those things are in place. And I am committed to everybody having at least a good conversation when they first meet, which I think is huge. I think that's a big step. And with me, as always, is my Brian from Solivity Magazine, the editor of Solivity Magazine. Hi, Brian.
Hello, love. How are you?
Are you there, honey?
Oh, yeah,
I
I'm
can't
here.
hear you.
Oh,
Brian's
yeah.
there. He's going to join us in a second. I wanted
Oh,
to
I'm
ask
here. I
you.
was on mute on your end, but everybody
Oh,
else could hear you.
okay. You want to say hi to the people?
Hi, people.
Brian, I don't know if you heard what I was talking about with core values, lifestyle, and physical sexual attraction. Were you present to that kind of stuff when you met your wife? Or were you just like, ooh, I love her, let's get married?
Oh, yeah, it was like that. I saw her, across a crowded room, and it was all good. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, of course. I had done a lot of work before I
Uh-huh.
met her, and the core values piece specifically, was very,
Yeah.
very, very important to me. I had dated, different people, and um, I took each experience as a learning experience,
Yeah.
even though it might have hurt emotionally. But what I got out of it was more clarity about what I wanted and what I wanted to be in a relationship with someone.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing like experiencing what you don't want to get real clear about what you do.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys know I talk about that all the time. So yeah, having a matchmaker, it's especially great for people who struggle with that. They struggle with initiating contact or simply picking the right partner. Sometimes we know, Brian said he did the work, and sometimes we've done the work and we know kind of the things to look for. And sometimes we're in the midst of doing the work, and sometimes we haven't known to do the work yet. And so we'd like to have somebody, and that, if we haven't done the work yet, doing the work definitely helps with partnership. But if you haven't done it yet, it doesn't mean that you can't grow with someone and meet someone, but it's good to have somebody to support you through what doing the work even is, and being able to recognize the things that would make a relationship sustainable, right? So the most important thing is that in the matchmaking, in the process, I get to be part of what supports healthy beginnings and sustainably healthy relationships. And I get to be the cause of self-love, soul connections, and sweetness. That's that work we're talking about. And I want you guys to stick around for this whole show tonight because we're going to have another matchmaker moment. I got a new client, Brian.
Yay! I love the matchmaker moment.
Do you?
Yeah, they're really cool.
I'm getting new people every week almost, which is great because I also have found that, for the most part, I would say 95% of my clients are pretty happy. Like if you were to poll them, I have really high matchmaker rating, but I have those couple of people who aren't ready for what I bring. So even today, I have somebody who he wants to drop out. He's done because he very much is approaching this process with she's got to be sexually attractive to me, she's got to be physically attractive, and not knowing how to bridge the gap. And I've talked about this on countless shows, the gap between what is going to cause a sustainable relationship, how to get to know somebody, and just wanting to have like arm candy, something that's impressive for other people on his arm, right?
Right.
And so, he's gone on probably about 30 dates with beautiful women. I mean, just like movie star level beautiful women, and even ones that are out of his league. And I even said to him, and I think this is why he's tired of me, because I said, obviously beauty is not the thing that's got you committing. You may say that you want a
Mm.
beautiful woman, and that's the most important thing. But all these beautiful that you've dated basically the Miss Universe pageant and didn't commit to one of them.
So what
So
was it? What do you think it was?
I think that he just, like you mentioned, I love the way you put it. He has the work to do. He hasn't done the work as far as, being heart-centered, knowing who he is, knowing what's important to him core value-wise, being able to
Mm-hmm.
connect with a woman on that level. So, I think that he is trying to impress somebody else, and this is me totally speculating. I don't want to diagnose. I think that there's probably some daddy issues because a lot of times when men come to me and there's like a daddy thing, they
Right,
want
right.
their dating life to be impressive. You get
Oh,
what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah,
oh, if I
yeah.
get this arm candy, not only will my friends be jealous, not only will I look good in front of my boss, my dad will be impressed. You know what I mean? There's very much that energy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like it
Yeah,
has to fit this part that he's got in his head about
exactly.
who this person
Exactly.
is. Bro, that's a fantasy.
It's a fantasy. And also, what you set yourself up for is a lot of failures
Yeah.
because then you get to that part where you actually have to get to know the person, right? Where you actually have to make some sort of emotional connection, which means that you have to actively be interested in who they are as a person, or you have to be able to have that conversation. So he has a lot of these first dates that either he's a no because she wasn't pretty enough, or she was not sexy enough, or whatever, or she's a no because she's like, he didn't even ask me anything about myself, or he just was
Wow.
doing this sort of like fake gentleman thing that didn't feel connective or authentic.
Mm, mm, mm.
I know, isn't that interesting? This is why this stuff is so fascinating. I think he's young enough on his journey that hopefully he'll figure it out so that he doesn't just end up with a woman who treats him like a wallet and not a human being.
Well, then he'll
Um,
complain about that.
right? Because then this is what, when we these people who are in their late 30s, early 40s, and they're going through divorce, so often, and it's so mean and they're so nasty to each other. They're so vitriolic and hateful towards each other. It's because in the beginning, there wasn't that connection of core values and, being able to learn how to empathize with each other, see each other as human beings, not just you're my trophy and you're my wallet,
Right. Right.
or something, some other setup like that. Or, some women will marry because it fits into whatever their family traditions are. You're successful enough, it's not necessarily a money thing, but you have enough prestige that you can fit into my family. And when you marry somebody for something like that, it's not sustainable.
Right. Right. Like, okay,
Right?
well, you're good enough for now. I can mold you into what I need you to
Yeah,
be.
exactly. Or and I've done this before. I've mentioned before about my abusive relationship. I very much was about, everyone in my family is married. And it's true. Like I think I have one aunt who's not married because, she got divorced and just decided not to get married again. But everybody else is married, still married for decades. And that on top of and this was about 10 years ago, on top of the pressures of social media and all of my friends being on like their second and third marriage. I was
Woo!
like, okay, I really need to get into a relationship. And I told myself the important thing was to get into the relationship, and the rest of it I could take care of. The rest of it I could work out. Like whatever it is, we'll find it. We'll figure it out. We both have the right, uh, sexual attraction for each other or whatever. That's all that matters. Like I can work with the rest. And it's such a lie that we tell ourselves because it's really about trying to fulfill what we think someone else wants for us, or what we think someone else will validate.
Mm, mm, mm. Hey,
Right?
there's enough Elizabeth Taylors. We can just let that lie.
But not just who's a guy who got married a lot too, because there's a lot of
I
men.
was trying to think of one while I was making that statement. I can't remember.
I'm sure there's some actor out there who's been married multiple times. I can't think of one right now, but
I mean, I
they're
know, like, I mean, he's happily married now, but I know George Clooney was a serial dater for a
oh
long
yeah,
time.
he has that
He dated
reputation.
like the most beautiful. I mean, like all starlets, all like and you're like,
Yeah,
okay, who's he dating now?
right. No, I remember that. I remember having such a crush on him in the 80s when he had a mullet.
You and a whole lot of other
Right.
people.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, and I was talking to a young woman the other day because she had gotten in touch with me on LinkedIn about whether she should go for coaching or go for matchmaking. And she was about 38 years old. I saw so much of myself in her, very much a career woman, very successful in her career. And she was at a crossroads where she's like, I do want to have a child or two. My parents have been married for, 30 some odd years or 40 years or whatever. And I feel like I need to do these things and fit into these traditions. And so I feel like it's time. Do you think I should do matchmaking or coaching? And my thing was coaching, not because I'm trying to push you one way or another, but the work to be done is to get into what is it that I want for myself, not what will fit into my family, what's going to be impressive to my friends, what's everyone else doing. So I have to keep up in some way. Like when we're in that story and it comes to romantic relationships, it's like we're setting ourselves up for a divorce.
Right, right,
You
right.
know, it really has to be so heart-centered and so connected to, and that's why I preach so much about self-love and self-acceptance, because without that foundation and without coming from a place of, I want this relationship because I see something in you that is also in me, like we're in that kind of alignment, then it just,
There's the
and I always want
word.
it, right? And it's like
Alignment.
alignment. I love that word.
And do you feel too that that never ends even after you're in the relationship, even after you possibly get married?
I
Work still
do.
continues?
I absolutely do, 100%, because and I mentioned it before. I think I might have, it might be in my notes for this week about, single not being a pejorative and coupled not being a badge of worth. So we think that the end goal is to be in a
Wow.
couple,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like I just
Repeat
got to
that.
get there.
Repeat
Like
that
it's,
again. I want people to hear that. Repeat that again.
we think that the end goal is to be in a couple. So single, we use single as a pejorative, like, something's wrong with you if you're single, and being coupled is like some badge of honor. Okay, you're
Right.
in a couple, so and it's weird too. I mean, when I was in my abusive relationship, I couldn't have been more miserable, but the people around me couldn't have been more happy that I was doing it, that I was in a relationship, and it was
But at
crazy.
least you got a man,
At
right?
least you got a man. You got a man. You got a man in your 40s, no less. You got a little setup. He came with a
Wow.
couple of kids. So I mean, like it's just crazy because I don't know. I had a point and I was going to make it and then it slipped right out of my head. But yeah, because we treat singlehood like it's a problem and we treat couplehood like it's a badge of honor. We forget that the growth has to continue no matter what, and that you are an individual no matter what first. And if you can't fill yourself up first, and then overflow on to another person, it doesn't matter whether you're single or coupled, you're going to get back to that same default setting of wherever you're at of unfulfilled. And so there's a lot of unfulfilled people that have been in couples for a very long time. So I want us to get out of that conversation, but tonight's topic, what coupled people do that single people don't do.
Yes. I've been
Right?
waiting for this one.
Have you? Oh, good. And you can tell me too, because you can tell me if you've done any of these things and if you feel like, it aligns with things that you, I don't want to say had to do, but chose to do in order to be in a couple, right? Now, I want to preface all of it with saying that this is not a rightness or a wrongness conversation. Just like I was just saying, there's nothing wrong with being single, just like there's nothing, that's superior about being in a couple. This is about I choose something and I desire something. So what do I need to do internally in order to have what I say that I want? What changes would I need to make? How would I need to do things differently if I want to create it the way that I want to create it? And those of you who are watching, listening, I see Sue, Valerie, Joe, Bridget, Gerald on my watch party. I don't know how you're doing over there, Brian, with the regular post or how this even works. But for anybody who is paying attention, who is with us right now, be thinking about some things, especially whether you're single or in a couple. Be thinking about some things that you think might open up your life to being coupled, if that's something that you desire, right? Because we're talking about doing that kind of transformation work. So, what couple people do that single people do not, a look at what people who are in relationships do compared to those who are not in relationships. And if you're single and looking to be coupled, I'll also lay out some healthy ways to learn from coupled people and start something long term. Now, I'm going to make a distinction here because I'm thinking, Brian, we were talking about the possibility of making this a series
Yep, yep,
because we're just talking about coupled. Being in a healthy partnership, healthfully coupled is a whole nother level, right?
yep, yep.
So tonight we're just talking about, what it would take to go from single to couple. And then we're also going to talk about going from couple to single because that is a thing. There are some people out there who are in a coupleship right now and are ready to be on their own or feel like they're ready to be on their own. And I was doing a workshop a couple weeks ago and talking to a woman that she's like, she's very much got life on hold until she figures this out, how to get out of this coupleship, how to get out of this relationship, how to get out of this marriage. Now, obviously, if you are in a marriage where there is abuse, whether emotional, physical, where there's trauma, where there's financial abuse, any of that sort of thing, there is a level of, practice of tools of knowledge that would be helpful as far as getting out of something like that. But if you're in a relationship that's just not functioning emotionally, feeling unhappy, feeling unsatisfied, there is a way to transform and not have it be what we think it's supposed to be, which is that, we can't be together anymore. So it has to end badly or it has to end negatively. And this is going to be kind of a stretch, especially for people like this woman in particular I'm thinking of. You can really be ready to be done with somebody and be surprised at how a transformation within yourself can change how you feel about whether you're really done with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because sometimes our being done with somebody has everything to do with what we are perceiving, believing, and generating.
In other words, it's your stuff.
Right. Exactly. And it's theirs, the stuff they complain about, that's their stuff too. I always love it whenever you see those talk shows and stuff where people bring their family members or they bring their partners on to have them be fixed. They bring them on, or they take people want to take their partner to counseling or to therapy because they want them to get fixed.
Yep.
And it's always the one who's bringing the other one that really needs the work.
And it's different if it's okay, we're going here so that we can do something together and learn how to be a we.
Yeah.
Not tell her about herself or tell him about himself.
Right? Or fix him. Make him be better. Make him listen to me. Yes. And that is often the case when people go into, couples therapy and stuff like that. Very often there's usually one of them or both of them who are hoping that the other one will get fixed and that will make it better. So that's something we want to be real cognizant of as well. And that's going to be part of the series. So when I'm in a couple and I want to get single, what do I need to do in order to have that happen in a healthy way or be open to how, it might not be exactly what I think it needs to be. But let's go back to the getting into of a romantic relationship. From someone who is a self-proclaimed recovering serial monogamist, one thing I've always been good at is getting myself into relationships. Right?
It's all right, Candy. We were all good.
Is it okay?
It's all right. We love
I'm really
you.
good at it.
We love you. You good.
I appreciate that. Thank you. But, I find that people make the getting into a relationship way more complicated than it really has to be. And I think because, over time, the heartbreak, the different things we go through, we get more and more trepidatious, we get more careful, we start building up, our walls, which I've talked about in previous shows. But in part, it's because we think that there's some standard that we have to meet or that we haven't yet committed to being true to ourselves, like I was talking about earlier, like we're trying to please someone else or be validated by someone else, maybe someone in our family or someone, our friends or whatever, our social group. And but mostly I think that it's that struggle of not knowing that we're enough that we have to be, do, or have something else in order to be couple ready. That, whether it's a man who thinks that he's got to be, making a certain amount of money. And let me just disclaimer that, because I don't think there's anything wrong with a man who wants to have a level of establishment in his life so that he can be a secure partner. But I do think that there's a very fine line between that and the story of enoughness, like how successful I need to be, how great, how much I need to have achieved before I'm good enough to have, whatever it is I dream of having. And I think for women, it's this, especially since the women's movement, it's these achievements. So I'm this amazing woman and I've done all these things and I've worked so hard and I've gotten so far. And that's a story of like, I have to do enough. I have to do enough, specifically for women of color. I think, I'm so educated. I've, got this great career. I've been doing all this great stuff, and for all of us, no matter what your cultural background is, the reason that we do what we do is ultimately for our basic human need of love, right? Those of us who are high, super, super high achievers, those of us who aren't such great achievers, ultimately the things that we do, the things that we go after, the things that we make effort for, it all comes down to our basic human need of love. And the reason that we feel like we need love from outside of ourselves is because we have a basic story that we're not enough. That's what our culture and our conditioning has taught us, that we're not enough. We don't come out of the womb thinking we're not enough, but our culture teaches us that, right? But here's the thing though, coupled people struggle with knowing that they are not enough, just like single people do. So the things that I'm going to talk about that are sort of the avenues into the transformation from single to couple, they don't have anything to do with you thinking that you're not enough. However, if you're willing to take the journey to understand your enoughness and get back to a place of that full self-acceptance that I'm always talking about, it's just a completely different experience of getting coupled. It's a completely different experience of being able to attract something and someone that is sustainable, that works for you. I don't know how many different ways I say the exact same thing, Brian, but do you feel me on
No,
all the different ways I say the same thing?
no, I think it's important that you say it different ways because people hear it
Yeah.
and then, they may not get it the first time around, but absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the the journey, the inner journey that includes discovery through relationships and relations with, right? That
Yeah.
ultimately your relationships with other people aren't about them. It's about you and deepening your understanding of who you are,
Totally.
and the depth of love that could be experienced
Yeah.
with someone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Through our own willingness to transform. I always say relationship status is just one of many external things that we can change and still be unfulfilled if we don't do the inner work. But the great thing, like you said, about relationships is the value is that it is part of our transformation, and it is the stone on which we are sharpened, right? It's being in and out of relationships or being in one relationship for a long period of time, it's there for our growth. It's there for our transformation, our elevation, all of that good stuff. That's what love exists for, right? So how is it that some people seem to have easily partnered and find it so easy while others are struggling to make it happen, struggling to make any kind of partnership happen? I have a lot of clients that come to me that haven't dated in 10, 15 years, or haven't been in a relationship, I should say, in 10 or 15 years, or people who the relationships they've had have been really short term. Like maybe they've had a couple, but it was like a year or 6 months, and they're getting, late into their adulthood. You'd be surprised how many people that are like in their 50s who've never had like a relationship over 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's not, there's nothing wrong with it. But if your desire is to be in a long term relationship, it's, the willingness to grow and the willingness to try some different things are and I feel like now I'm holding it like a carrot, like suspenseful. So what are the things? What are the things I need to
Dun, dun,
do,
dun.
Candice?
Da, 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 da,
Dun, dun, dun.
da.
So I came up with 5 things, and you guys that are listening, like I said, feel free to contribute if you feel like there are other things as well, especially those of you who easily couple, who are in a couple or whatever. So 5 things that coupled people do that single people don't. And I want to stress that the reasons they do them are irrelevant, because this is just about going from single to coupled. And to do it in a healthy way is on a whole nother level, which we will probably discuss next week. But yeah, it doesn't matter why they do these things, but these are the things that will have you get into a relationship. Trust me, I know. So
Dun, dun, dun.
right, number 1, coupled people give up on perfection. So they change their perception rather than expecting someone else to be good enough to change it for them. So one thing about single people, and I include myself in that story right now, is this idea that someone's going to come along and be good enough that you'll be willing to give up your singlehood. As if it's something that, like, you can't release, you can't unlock until, someone comes along with the key. And coupled people, I think they give up on that idea. I think that coupled, and of course I'm speaking very generally, but what they decide is this person has enough things about them that I'm willing to work with them, I'm willing to grow with them. What do you think about that, Brian, as a coupled person?
I think my wife is perfect.
Yeah. Aww. You have to say that, don't you? Is she looming? Is she standing right there?
No, I think you're onto something there.
Yeah.
It's the perfection of imperfection, right? We're human beings. We have a human experience, which is in and of itself not perfect.
Yeah.
And so why expect, or why even go into the fantasy of expecting that once this person is like this specific way in my head, right? That's unobtainable, by the way.
Yeah.
Then I will have a happy relationship. And if they don't have that perfect thing, right? Like the brother you were talking about earlier, with then it means that it won't work out. And in truth, it has nothing to do.
Right. And I love that you said that too, because I think it's the same people who, if they do get in a partnership with that, expecting someone else to be good enough, it's like what you were talking about, waiting for them to change. If they would get better, if they would be right, then I could be okay. I could be happy in this relationship. I think that's what they take into any sort of relationship that they get into, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Like if they could just get this together, then they would be the person that I want, rather than what you were saying, like perfect in their imperfection. If they would just stop, if they would just start taking out the garbage, if they would just stop doing this thing, if they would just get it together, if they could just have a better tone when they speak to me, if they could just treat my mama better. It's like we come up with all of these things that then make the coupledom just as unsatisfying as the singledom.
Right. Right.
But I do think it does take a level of, like you said, being able to recognize imperfection as perfection, and not be attached to having that person have to be something in order for you to be able to couple with them. Yeah. And on whatever level that is for each individual, right? Because that's how we negate people.
Yeah, I will say this part though.
Tell me.
There are certain, it isn't two just individuals, being roommates, right?
Yeah.
There's a partnership that has to be created, and maintained, by the way.
Yeah.
It doesn't end at I do, and then come back from the honeymoon, and then you go and live in your happily ever after.
Yeah.
The happily ever after is the regular commitment to communicate in a certain way where both people can hear, all those other things that are there. And with that said, that 9 times out of 10, Candy, I mean, you just said it eloquently earlier. 9 times out of 10, giving up on perfection is I'm accepting this person as they are in the context of building a relationship with them, which is really about intimacy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true. Which goes back to acceptance, self acceptance first. Because I can't accept somebody else if I can't even accept myself.
In case y'all didn't
I'm
hear that, I said,
gonna, I'm gonna do number 2, and then we can do a little commercial break, right, Brian? I wanna squeeze that in. So number 2, I think speaks back directly to number 1, which is that coupled people share. Now, what do I mean by that? Because yeah, single people, yes, they might share their steak dinner with you and things like that. But
or maybe not.
coupled people, and the way they end up coupled is that they share their and this is not to generalize all couples because all couples aren't great communicators and things like that, but they share their time, they share their space. They're willing to give up a little bit on their ownership of their space physically and emotionally. So there's a willingness. I get a lot of feedback from dates where one will be like, he talked the entire time and didn't ask me a single question. Or they'll be like, they just only asked me questions and didn't say anything about themselves. So there's sort of a lack of sharing that's going on, right? Whether I'm doing all the talking and not asking any questions, or I'm just asking you all the questions and expecting you to be the one sort of being interviewed, let's say on a date or as we're getting to know each other, I'm not sharing of myself.
Right, right.
I'm not sharing who I am with you. I'm either putting you on stage or I'm putting myself on stage and I'm not leaving room for any sharing from you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think the difference is that even dysfunctional couples,
Yeah, they share.
they share.
They share, and it's again like I think with number 1, it's enough. Not
Yeah.
necessarily it's perfect, not necessarily where it's mutually supportive, but they share enough where they can be in a relationship with.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing about that too, like the example that I was using about when you're on a date with someone who does all of the talking. So I think that can sometimes get grating if you don't like what they're saying or if it feels like they are commanding the entire conversation. But if I'm in a sharing space, I'm willing to say you like, especially on a first date or first couple of dates, I'm willing to say, I'll give you a little bit of a pass of empathy for that you might be nervous, that you might be wanting to get to know me, and this is how you know how to do it, that you might be really wanting me to like you, things like that. That's a way of sharing as well. Or if I'm on the other end of things and I'm doing all the talking on the date, if I'm willing to give myself a moment to say, okay, I can give you a little bit of space.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm-hmm.
little bit of space to talk about yourself, or I can ask you a question and actually actively listen. Like that's the sharing, that one little adjustment that either the one who doesn't want to listen or the one who's doing all the talking that either can do, that will provide a space of sharing. All of a sudden now you have, okay, now we're working together. It's not just one person on stage, or it's not just one person doing all the trying to listen or whatever. But if you're aware, you have to be the one to give up on it, relinquish it, or even say to someone, I would love to share who I am with you because I feel like you've told me so many great things about yourself. Or I would love to hear more about you because I feel like I'm doing all the talking. Like I feel like people are hesitant to do that, but that's part of sharing and going ahead and opening it up so that we can get to know each other. What do you think about that, Brian?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I guess the key thing too is enough, right? where like if you're dating somebody and um again, like you said, you might give them a little pass because they're not sharing enough, and you may go out, you like them, but you go out on another date and that kind of deal.
Yeah, what happened?
Oh no, I'm here.
Oh, okay. I missed the last part of what you said. What was the very last thing you said?
Oh, so the so you might go on another date with them to kind of see where things could go,
Yeah.
because I think that's another part of it, right? Where you're not going to get everything typically
First date.
on the first date.
Yeah. Like you want to give it some space.
Yeah, and there you
Right.
go. You're sharing some
I think
space.
that we could add that as another one too. Like coupled people give it some time. Where single people are so quick to be like, nope. Nope, didn't do that, didn't do this, didn't do that. Nope, don't want them. Whereas I think in order to get into a couple, you got to be willing to give it a little time in that sharing. Yeah, based on what you're saying. So let's take a little commercial break, Brian, I think.
All
And then
right,
we'll come back with the other three.
All right, we're going to take a little break.
All right, we'll be back, everybody, with the other three things that coupled people do that single people don't. Yay, we're back. All right. Was that enthusiasm? Yay, we're back. All right, so we're at number 3 of the 5 things that coupled people do that single people don't, and the reasons are irrelevant. Number 3, coupled people make room in their emotional closet and they empathize. And the moment they stop empathizing is usually when they're on their way back to single. So, right. So this goes back to what we were talking about before with number 2, with the sharing. I brought up the example of, in a conversation. So you have a little empathy for someone who maybe when you're just meeting them, how they behave, and maybe give them a little space, a little time to get to know them. But also just, in general, like, I think that in order to get into a couple, when you're spending time with someone, you have to have a level of being able to, and here's the fine line, because some people call themselves empaths. And I
Notice
feel
that.
like, what's that? What were you saying?
I noticed how you said that with like the movie voice.
Empaths. I am an empath, which I avoid saying those sorts of things because although I am the possibility of being empathic and having empathy, and I can generate empathy when I want to, I think the dangerous thing about people who identify themselves as empaths is that a lot of times they are just people who take on your feelings and then make it about them. Not always. I'm not judging anybody, but that's a lot of times what that really means. And a lot of the people that I've worked with who identify themselves that way, that's usually what they end up describing. Like, oh, I was sitting and talking to this person and, they were so upset and I could really feel it. And they started crying. And then I started crying and I started to feel the emotions they were feeling. And it just really drained me. And so when I walked away from that conversation, I was so drained because of everything they were going through. Which, I get the motivation to say those things, or where that, usually people mean well when they're saying all of those things, but really showing someone true empathy is to be able to be with where they're at without taking it on, and to be able to recognize, acknowledge it, validate how they feel, and let them feel how they feel. That's empathy. That's connective empathy. Now, I don't necessarily think that everybody is conscious of that they're doing that exact thing, but when we do that as human beings, it connects us to people. Like when I just let you be where you're at, and it does go back to the conversation of acceptance, but sometimes it's really about, can I be with where you're at when it's not where I want you to be? So if you're in a bad mood, or if you're really sad about something, or you're really, twisted up about something, can I be with that? Can I let you have that without needing to take it on or meet you at that same level of energy? I used to do that with my abusive boyfriend all the time. That's why I was just as abusive as he was. He would come with a puss on his face, and then all of a sudden I'm an empath. So now I feel like I gotta have a puss on my face. Because I'm taking up your energy, and I'm having that same negative energy that you're bringing because you're bringing it. And now I'm also blaming you for it. But it feels to me like you're sucking my energy because I'm so empathic and I'm feeling everything you're feeling. So I think the difference is that when we're willing to just say, you know what do you need? Do you want me to leave you alone? You want me to bring you something? I get why you feel that way. I see it. I understand. That totally sucks.
Right.
Or, even if you don't agree with why they feel that way, like I understand that you feel that way, and it's okay that you feel that way. You're entitled to feel how you want to feel. Right. So I think that makes a big difference, especially when people are getting to know each other, being willing to just be in that empathy state without taking on somebody's shit, without making it, wrong about them, needing to judge them about it, and without, walking away with it. So then you feel drained by that person. It's like, no, they got their thing, let them have their thing, and they will appreciate you for it, because one day you're going to have your thing, and you're going to want them to be able to be with where you're at. Right? Because we all have those days. But we got shit going on. And you just need somebody to be able to be like, okay, I get it. You need a glass of water? You need me to walk away? What do you need me to do?
Glass of wine. Right? Something harder.
Something with some rocks in it. So number 4, coupled people release autonomy. And I think this can be a very hard one, especially for very independent single people, and single women in particular, but men too, I think, run into this wall. Being able to give up that you have to collaborate your choices and be creative with someone else, in partnership with someone else, about life decisions and how things are going to move forward. Being able to give up that you aren't the only voice speaking can be a very challenging thing. But if you want to go from being single to being coupled, you want to be able to release that autonomy and say, you know what, I can collaborate my life with you. Right? And it starts out with dating, because where are we going to go for dinner? Well, I want to do such and such and such. And that's the way I want to do it, because it's my favorite and I like it. And I want you to be down for the ride. And if I'm paying for it, we definitely have to do it the way I say. You can get into a relationship that way, but that's not, it's not a very healthy relationship. If you're trying to transform from single to couple, the best way to do it is to be able to collaborate, give up autonomy, and, be allowing of someone else's preferences and how you can work together on that. Yeah. What do you think about that, Brian? Do you feel like you and Sasha have that on lock?
Yeah, we do. We do. I remember the best advice, specifically that relates to this, was I think a lot of times people believe that a relationship is, two people come together, think of them as 2 glasses of water.
Yeah.
And they pour out 50% of each one of those, and then you pour into another glass, and now it's 100%, right? The glass fills up. In truth, it's both people come into the relationship as 100%, And then
Yeah.
they're drawing a circle around the two people, which creates a bigger subset. So instead
Yes.
of it being 50% plus 50% equals 100%, it's 1 times 1 equals 1. And then you're
Absolutely.
learning each person's, likes, dislikes, and idiosyncrasies, and that kind of thing. And that is partnership,
Yeah.
interdependency, not
Yeah.
dependency, interdependency.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it leaves room for each person's contribution as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then number 5, if you guys have any, the show goes so fast. If you guys have any, feel free to chime in as well. Coupled people prioritize the positive aspects. So this also goes back to acceptance, but really being cognizant of what is workable about being with a person that you're with. And one thing I notice about people who are dating in sequence, or in the dating process, is that people are very quick to come up with all the things that are negative and all the things that don't work, and they focus on those things. And because I don't know if it's because they think that if they focus on the positive aspects that they're going to somehow accidentally get into a coupleship with someone they don't want to, or they think, if
Wait
I
a
if
minute.
I
I thought I was buying a Cadillac.
right. Right, or if they think like, oh, if I look at the good things about this person, that somehow I'm gonna mislead them, or whatever. When we're willing to prioritize the positive aspects about any person, even if we go out on a date with them with the intention of dating them long term, or whatever, and even if we decide, well, this person may not be right for me, the only thing that can come out of prioritizing the positive aspects of that person is that you allow yourself to have more pleasure and enjoyment in the moments that you're in with that person. It doesn't commit you to having to have any other moments with that person. But if you want to be able to move something from 2 singles to 1 couple, the way to do that is to pay attention to those really great aspects, focus on those, and grow those things by
Mm,
focusing on them and
mm.
and giving your attention to them. It's that simple. And enjoying them, like allowing yourself to be in enjoyment with that person.
Isn't that a
So,
song?
huh?
Accentuate the positive. I remember
You
how that
gotta
song. Uh,
accentuate the positive,
positive.
even
See, I knew you
the
knew it.
negative. It is. It totally is. But it's true. It's such a cliche. But cliches are cliches because they're true. Tried and true. So yeah, are all couples healthy? Absolutely not. But they are doing their love lives differently. So the question for single people who want to be coupled becomes, how can I practice what coupled people do in a healthy way? And if you're willing to ask yourself that question, it's different for everybody. How can I practice what coupled people do in a healthy way? So how can I practice giving up on perfection, sharing, making room in my emotional closet, and empathizing, releasing autonomy, prioritizing the positive aspects? How can I practice those things in a way that is authentic to me? And I always say the first answer is self-love and self-acceptance,
Yes, 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 yes.
right? And once you're on that road, then those things become a lot easier. So, ultimately, whatever we want to change in our reality must first happen in our beliefs and then our actions. So, another question to ask ourselves is, what am I willing to do differently to have what it is that I want? And next week, we're going to talk about, like I said, how to be in a healthy coupleship, what healthy couples do that not so healthy or single people don't do. And then I think we'll also talk about what single people do for those who are in a couple and don't want to be in that couple anymore. And Esther Perel talks about how you can be in an unhappy coupleship and end that relationship, but don't always be so sure that you're not going to start a new relationship with that same person, because you can start a new relationship. And I sort of touched on it earlier. You can start a new relationship with an old person, right? With some willingness to transform. And it doesn't have to be dramatic, scary, or dysfunctional
No,
to end a
dun dun
relationship.
dun.
Dun, dun, dun. We always think that this moving in and out of love has to be scary, and you end up in divorce court and people are getting hurt and one's calling the other one a narcissist, and it doesn't have to be that way. And there are ways to, we're going to talk about some tools and some ways to not have it be that way. Let's do a matchmaker moment, Brian. I know we're in our last few minutes, right?
Yes, hang on.
Okay.
All right. Matchmaker moment.
Matchmaker moment. Tonight's client profile. So I have a tall entertainment agent who's a snappy dresser with a cute bearded face. He's very cute. He's used to crazy amounts of travel and being all over the world, and is using the pandemic to focus on finding his next jet-setting partner and possible future wife. Right? So, his hope is that after the pandemic is over, he's going to get right back into his jet setting work. He's working during the pandemic, but, obviously, like most of us, he's doing remote work and from home and whatever he can do around that. But once he starts traveling again, he wants to have a wife or partner to come with him.
Aww.
Right? I thought that was very sweet. He's at an age, great career, somewhat of a provider. He wants his woman to also have a career as well. So he's not like, come with me, give up your life and I'll, give you I don't know, a fantastic trophy wife life. No, he's not saying that. He's saying that he does want to have a partnership, but he does want somebody who has the flexibility. So maybe an entrepreneur. I'm thinking he needs like an entrepreneur, someone who also works remotely, someone who has that kind of financial and business type freedom. And so if you're a smart, pretty single woman between the ages of 24 to 34, who takes no sass and can rub elbows with celebs without standing.
Oh, wow.
Right? That takes a certain kind of woman. It takes a certain kind of man too, who can be in the I used to work in entertainment. I used to work in television. I'll tell you a quick story. When I used to work on the Wendy Williams show, Snoop Dogg was one of the guests one time. And there was only probably maybe 3 famous people that I ever had any sort of that's really cool that person's there. Cause I got to a point where I was kind of numb to celebrity. But Snoop Dogg he was a guest and he was turning the corner walking around, about to go down the stairs. And I was trying everything I could to be cool. I was trying so hard to be cool. Meanwhile, on the inside, I was like, "It's Snoop Dogg!" I was so excited. And I come around the corner, with my straight, game face on, right? Because I'm supposed to be professional. And I jammed my shoulder right into the side of the door because I wasn't paying attention because I was too busy staring at him. I was totally starstruck. I came of age in the 90s. It was Snoop, gin and juice, right? But here's the thing. He needs a woman who can hang with that celebrity life and not be standing and bumping into doors. Who can deal with the celebrity. So if you know someone who may be a great match for my entertainment agent, email me askforcandypodcast@gmail.com and say, I have a match. Or if you are that person, say, I want to be matched, and we'll get you in the Rolodex and we'll see what happens. I'll screen you. All right. Sunday, September 6th at 7 a.m., I am rejoining the Spirit of a Woman Development Center for part 2 of my Love Chrysalis. So for those of you who got to be at part 1, or even if you didn't get to come to part 1, come to part 2, because we're going to be doing some major exercises that are the extended version of transformation from lonely to in love. And this is all, my self-acceptance curriculum, just really how do you majorly transform things in your life. So, it's all about healing the past, loving yourself, and starting your love life or any part of your life over from a clean slate. And so I will be teaching the Love Chrysalis, which I did 2 shows about the last couple of weeks. My Epic Circle every Monday, 6 to 8, online healing circle for women everywhere. During this pandemic, we've been doing a lot of work, and now we're moving into the next phase of things, which is going to be really exciting. I've got some announcements to make about that, which I'm going to save for next week. And you can find us on Eventbrite or on the Meetup. Thank you so much, my Brian, Celebrity Magazine.
Thank you, Candy. Woo, this was so fun. Awesome. We need to do this next week.
Say that again.
We need to do this next week.
You want to do it again next week?
Yeah, let's do it again next week.
I would love to. I see we have a show partnership, right?
That's right.
Well, you weren't single because you had other shows, but then you pulled me into the fold. I'm one of the sister wives. There's Javier, D'Angelo, Francesca, all the other hosts and stuff. We're the sister wives.
I love it.
And you pulled into your partnerships here, which I love. So yeah, Celebrity Magazine, Passion, Purpose, Living. Please check out Celebrity Magazine on the website. Go to YouTube. Celebrity Magazine is the channel. Check us out there. You can see all the other shows as well. You can subscribe and never miss a show and see there's the show almost every day, I feel like, Brian. I feel like I see you going live all the time.
Of course.
I'm always
we have to inspire some people.
Huh?
You have to inspire some people.
Have to inspire some people, and that's what we're all about. So definitely check that out, especially if you're looking for inspiration and great conversations about our culture today, and love and famous people, and there's just all kinds of stuff going on. Cooking, was it Chef Walter?
Chef Walter
right?
Martino, the $1 Million Chef.
Chef Walter Martino. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at Ask for Candy, at Candy Love Coach, and follow at Celebrity Magazine. And that's it.
Woo!
Right? It's been a show, honey.
We did it.
Is there anything else you want to tell the people before we go, Brian? Are we good?
We have a special announcement that's probably going to come at the end of the week, but I can't talk about it now.
Oh, a little
it's a surprise. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun.
I love a little tease. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
That's right. That's right. A little mystery never hurt nobody.
A little mystery never hurt nobody. All right, folks. Again, email me, askforcandypodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, never forget that you are a love machine. You really, really are, my sweet loves. And if you ever start to feel like you aren't getting the love that you need, just make more and then ask for candy. I love you so much. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I don't know what that voice is. That's my Jim Henson.
That's the Candy ask for more voice.
Right? I'm asking for candy. All right, whatever. Crazy. Love you. Bye, everybody. Mwah.
Thank you for watching Ask for Candy with Candice Harper, right here on Solivity TV every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Solivity Magazine brings you the best in inspiration on Solivity TV. Check out our new shows. Mark your calendars for Solivity Magazine shows by going to solivity.com now.